So welcome back to my channel. This is Dom, and I'll take a look today at this. This is the iconic German warship, the Bismarck. This is the model for Victory at Seas game from Warlords. You've seen, possibly if you're interested in this period, you've seen my unboxing and painting of the German fleet that you get from Warlords, and of course you can't leave it there, can you? So I had to add to that fleet, and first place I started was the iconic Bismarck. Not a bad price actually, £15. Well, I mean, it's a lump of resin, but compared to the other ships, £15 for this, it's just one of those ships. If you're into naval warfare, the Bismarck, the Hood, particularly from the British and the German side of the conflict, are the two that sort of really jump out at you. So this box set, as I say, £15. It seems like there's a link up with World of Warships, which is the online game I play also. Premium reward code included. Okay, interesting. I suppose it's logical they link up with World of Warships as well. So as usual, this is a 1/1800 scale resin kit. Interesting, it doesn't say metal as well, so maybe this one's all resin. Don't know. Quick history lesson on this. You can skip forward. I'll put the link in the description down below, and also I'll put a link to my affiliate link with Warlords, which if you are interested in the ship, please buy on that one. Doesn't cost you any more money, but just I get a tiny percentage of the sale, which helps for the channel's development and me to buy more kit and so forth to show you off. So the Bismarck. This was one of two, well, really the only two battleships that the Germans built during the war. Obviously, their naval forces were not as heavily engaged as other nations, largely resorted to commercial raiding, and ships like this tied down huge numbers of British ships, guarding them, shadowing them, preventing them breaking out and causing mayhem amongst the commercial shipping that was keeping Britain basically in the war for most of the war. So as I say, it was one of two ships. There was the Bismarck itself and the Tirpitz, which other people may well have heard of. It was the class of ships was the Bismarck. That was the family of ships. It was built, was laid down in July 1936 and launched in February 1939, and then commissioned in August 1940. So that shows the development times of a warship like this. And at its time, it was one of the most modern warships of its era. It only, however, was in operation for 8 months. That's it. So from August 1940, 8 months. It was basically used, as say, a lot of the German fleet was used as raiding, and it's along with the U-boats. Its role was to sink and capture British and American merchantmen, basically to put a stranglehold on Britain. It was very, very effective at that. In May 1941, this ship left its docks along with the heavy cruiser Prince Eugene and broke out into the Atlantic Ocean to raid Allied shipping between North America and Great Britain. But they were detected several times, and British naval units were deployed to try and block their route. And then the Battle of the Denmark Straits, the battle cruiser HMS Hood engaged Huygen, probably by mistake, and then the Prince of Wales battleship engaged the Bismarck. In the ensuing battle, the hood was destroyed by the combined firepower of Bismarck and Eugene, and then they seriously damaged the Prince of Wales and forced it to retreat. But in the fighting, Bismarck suffered quite a lot of damage, including, I believe, to its rudder, but it was quite a shock to the British Navy, because the Prince of Wales was a brand new ship. The hood was the pride of the British fleet, and both of them being destroyed effectively by 2 German warships was a bit of a shock to the British, and affected their pride, really. But they continued to shadow the 2 German warships, and then as they tried to head for France, occupied France, to repair, they were attacked. Bismarck was attacked by 16 very antiquated biplane, the Fairy Swordfish torpedo bombers from the HMS Ark Royal. But one, despite the fact they were very lumbering, slow, not particularly effective torpedo bombers, one of them managed to hit the Bismarck in the steering gear, making them completely unoperational. And the following morning, this sort of crippled Bismarck, Lady of the Sea, and an absolutely beautiful ship, was engaged by 2 British battleships and 2 heavy cruisers, and basically was scuttled as a result of that fight, to prevent her being boarded by the British. And that was the end. That was the end of the Bismarck. It was finally destroyed in the Atlantic. It's rather sorry. I mean, it was war, so at the end of the day, I would have been cheering for the Brits more than anybody else. But it seems a sorry waste for a ship that took so long to develop. That mission with Eugene was 8 days long. 8 days long, and then it was at the bottom of the Atlantic. Funnily enough, the wreck itself was only found in June 1989, has been surveyed extensively since then, so they've got a pretty good idea about the damage that was caused to the Bismarck in that final showdown, where it was heavily outnumbered but still went down slugging. So there you go, enough of the history lesson. Let's open the box. So, as usual, you get, this is the Bismarck's card for the game. It's 450 points, 15-inch guns. Looks like it's 4 turrets with 2 guns on each, 2 barrels on each. Let's have a look at the resin. Packed by Ray. Thank you, Ray. Much appreciated. Oh, it is metal as well. So you get the coning towers and the antennas and everything else. And secondary guns also, by the look of it, in metal. A little bit fiddly. That's going to be annoying. Look, you can see the flashes between the barrels there. That's going to need a little bit of careful tidying up. Yeah. It's slightly annoying. There's the main guns, and also I'm not sure what that is. They're quite soft metal, so you have to try and straighten them out. That's another slight criticism I have of these models, but I guess metal is metal is metal. And there's the ship itself, the Bismarck. Again, it looks like a bit of flash around. I expect that. On the German fleet I had. I'll just get my brush. You can see there's sort of flakes of it here that you have to get rid of. Also, you need to take some of edging off this base, because you can see it's a little bit, needs a bit of shaving basically. But it's a nice clean model as a whole. No real damage. Pretty flat, yeah, that's very flat, that's fine. Always check for warping, But given the fact these are obviously resin models, they need to be washed thoroughly in soapy water just to take off any of the residual sort of substance that when they're making the molds or taking out the molds that's left behind, and that makes the paint a little bit difficult to adhere. So I'm going to tidy this up, get the bits of flashing off, and wash it, sit the gun turrets and everything on, and spray it, and I'll be back. So there we go, I put him together. As always, really good idea to use a bit of a scalpel knife and some tweezers like this, just because these little tiny parts like the secondary armaments here, fitting them is really fiddly. Also the cranes here, so the little metal bits. Now I did debate with the main guns. I need to do a bit of straightening out of these fellas because they bend a little bit. I did debate whether to leave them free flowing so they could be turned, because they're big enough that you could sort of just turn them as you're firing them and what have you. But I think in the end my fear was that I'd end up losing them, and so I decided to stick them down. So they're stuck in the sort of forward arc position. I don't know. You could, if you were clever, you could. There's probably enough room to drill a little bit of a hole and put a little magnet in and stick it that way. I'm not going to bother with that because if I'm honest, I'm not sure how often I'm going to be playing this game, and they're probably going to spend a fair bit of time in storage, and therefore I'd rather not, when I do put them out, to realise that I can't find the barrels or what have you. That would be an absolute nightmare. Pop those cranes. I think these are cranes on the side of the ship, probably for taking stocks in. I'll just bend them up. So yeah, I mean, as I mentioned before, they're pretty clean models. All these Warlord resin figures or resin models. There's sort of little flakes of resin you see sometimes in where it hasn't quite come out when the molds come out, and you just a pair of tweezers, just pluck them out and they're fine. If they're a bit stubborn, then get your craft knife and just work it in. Also around the spare tyre here, just make sure it's sort of smoothed off. You could do it with a file of some sort, but just something to take that excess resin off. But otherwise, it's a lovely looking model. I mean, the ship itself is a fantastic looking ship. So I'm going to spray this up, and I'll show you. I won't show you the stages, because if you want to see the stages I did with painting, you can watch the other video I did with the Kriegsmarine. I'll just show you the finished result, I think. Anyway, back in a minute. Okay, so there she is, pretty much finished. I've done the basing exactly the same way as I showed on the previous video, using Thalasar blue as the base colour, and then I used electric, the really pale light blue, just to sort of show the bit of depth to the wake, and then just used a plain white over the top just to sort of accentuate the streamlining effect. On the ship itself, you can see on the hull I just tried to put in some of the sort of camo marks. I mentioned in the Kriegsmarine video, the Germans had a real variety of different camos for their ships, although there's some question about exactly what they did use, but they do seem to have taken advantage of the sort of stripes to break up the silhouette of ships. So that's what I've gone with this. I've also gone with the red turret tops for the main guns, because again, that's apparently what they used to have. Prevent air attack primarily. I've cleaned up the I just realised this thing. Oh, okay, so the I've cleaned up the chains at the front. I thought generally the chains were at the back, so I was surprised that's actually the front of the ship. Anyway, that's that. The hull was done with stone golem from War Painter, just around here, and the rest of the grey, where the black smudges aren't, it's just the matte Halford's light grey spray paint. I just haven't bothered to paint that in any other colour, and then it's just had a wash with Nuln oil over across the whole ship, but not the water. So there you go, that's that. All it needs next is a bit of dry brushing, so I'm going to go over that with a really light dry brushing using this, which I mentioned before, Corax White, which I use a lot for dry brushing. It's very, very thick, but it's actually very good for dry brushing as a result of that. So I'm going to dry brush the whole ship and then give it a varnish, and I will show you what it looks like at the end of that. And there you go, there's the finished Bismarck. All varnished, the dry brush is finished, and it looks pretty good. I'm quite happy with it. Love the water effects. It's a beautiful looking ship anyway, so you don't need to do a huge amount to it. Mentioned once, I think in a previous video, they did used to have a swastika on the front and the back, on the bows and the stern. Getting into the lingo, but I'm not going to put that on because it's an offensive symbol and I don't want to offend anybody. Yeah, not much more to say about this model. It's a lovely model, really sleek looking ship. Gonna look forward to smashing Ken's British Royal Navy with this baby in due course, when we can finally meet up and have some face-to-face games. And I think it's a lovely model, really good fun. Hope you liked it. If you did, please give it a like, and if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel. If you're interested in buying this bad boy, there's a link in the description which takes you through to the Warlord's website, and you can order it there. It's an affiliate link. It doesn't cost you any more. It just gives a tiny cut to me, which is great. So it helps me run the channel and helps me invest in more stuff, hopefully keep you entertained. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, as I say, give it a like, and I will see you again soon. You stay safe, stay well, hope your projects are going well. This is Dom, signing out.